The invitation came on a quiet Tuesday morning. "Mom, come for dinner Friday night. Just family, nothing fancy," my son Michael had said over the phone. His voice carried that careful gentleness he'd adopted since Robert died, the kind people use with someone they're afraid might break. I was 63, not fragile, but grief had a way of making others treat you like porcelain. I told him I'd love to come. The farmhouse felt too big these days, full of echoes and ghosts. Robert had been gone for 2 years, 2 long years since that morning I'd found him face down in the tall grass of our north pasture. Work gloves still on his heart, stopped mid-motion. The silence that followed his death had a weight all its own. Friday came with the faint chill of October. I arrived at Michael's house at 6:30 p.m., a warm apple pie in my hands, his favorite. The modest colonial home glowed with soft light, the smell of roasted chicken drifting out when my daughter-in-law Vanessa opened the door. "Brittney," she said with her polished smile, kissing the air beside my cheek. "You shouldn't have. We already have dessert." "I wanted to," I replied, passing her the pie. The scent inside was rich chicken herbs and something sharper, a faint cologne oddly familiar like a whisper from the past. I brushed it off and looked around. "Where's Emma?" I asked. My granddaughter was the usual burst of joy at family dinners. "Sleepover at Madison's," Vanessa said. "We thought it'd be nice just adults tonight." Her tone had an edge I couldn't place before Michael appeared, wiping his hands on a dish towel. "Mom," he said, pulling me into a hug that lasted a beat too long. "You look tired," I told him when he pulled away. "Work's been crazy," he said, avoiding my eyes. The dining table was set beautifully, candles, china, soft music in the background. Too formal for us. I smiled, touched by the effort, until I saw it 4 places set, not 3. 4 plates, 4 wineglasses gleaming in the candlelight. My breath hitched. "Michael," I said, voice steady, despite the tremor in my chest. "Why are there 4 places?" The color drained from his face. Vanessa's hand flew to her mouth. For a long moment, the only sound was the faint swell of strings from the speakers. "Michael," I repeated, "what's going on?" He exchanged a look with Vanessa, one of those wordless conversations married couples have. She gave a small shake of her head, but he straightened his shoulders like a man about to jump into cold water. "Mom," he began softly, "there's something we never told you." The world tilted. I reached for the back of a chair to steady myself. "About Dad." Vanessa's voice came next, quieter, more careful. "Please sit down. This is going to be hard." I sat, choosing the chair closest to the door, instinct maybe. Michael sat across from me, his hands flat on the table. "Dad didn't die the way you think he did." My pulse roared in my ears. "He had a heart attack. In the north pasture. Dr. Morrison said it was instant, he didn't suffer." "That's true," Michael said. "But there's more. A few weeks before he died, Dad gave me something. A locked box. He said if anything happened to him, I should keep it safe and tell you only after 2 years. 2 years, I repeated. "Why?" He said you'd need time to grieve first to be strong enough for what's inside. Vanessa disappeared into the other room, heels clicking on the hardwood. She returned with a small wooden box 8 inches square, brass corners, a keyhole on the front. She placed it on the table with a soft thud. I recognized it instantly, Robert's old tackle box, carved by his father decades ago. "This was in the basement," I said. "No," Michael answered. "That was a replica. Dad didn't want you to know this one was gone." My stomach turned. My husband, the man I'd trusted with everything, had hidden something from me. "Open it," I said. "Mom, are you sure? Open it." Michael pulled a small brass key from his pocket and turned it in the lock. The lid lifted with a slow creak. Inside the box was lined in red velvet, holding neatly stacked papers, faded photos, and one letter addressed in Robert's familiar handwriting. "Brittney," it began. "If you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry for the lies, for what I hid from you. Our life together was real. My love for you was real. But my past, my name was someone else's entirely. Burn everything in this box after you've read it. Trust no one, and whatever you do, don't let them know you know. Your life may depend on it. R." My hands trembled as I lowered the letter. "What does this mean?" I whispered. "Who are they?" Michael's face was pale. He never said, Just that when the time came, you'd need to know who he really was. Vanessa slid a photograph across the table, a young man in a fine suit beside a mansion smiling confidently. My breath caught. It was Robert, but different, his posture sharper, his expression colder. "Look at the back," she said. In faded ink, Newport, July 1982. The month before Robert Caldwell walked into a small-town diner, ordered coffee and pie, and met me. I stared at the photograph for a long time, tracing the face I knew better than my own. It was him, Robert, but younger, harder, with the kind of arrogance I'd never seen in the gentle man who'd built our life in Millbrook. His suit alone probably cost more than our first tractor. The mansion behind him glowed in summer sunlight, all marble and glass, nothing like the life we'd shared. "Who is she?" I asked, pointing to the elegant woman beside him, her hand resting possessively on his arm. "We don't know," Michael said. "But look at this." He pulled a yellowed newspaper clipping from the box. The headline sent a chill through me. "Prominent Boston family heir missing, foul play suspected." The accompanying photo was of the same man, my husband's face, but the name beneath it read James Whitmore III. My mind rebelled, trying to fit the pieces together. "No," I whispered. "That can't be. This says he disappeared." Michael's voice was barely audible. "I think Dad was running from something, or someone, and I think they might have found him." Before I could respond, the doorbell rang. The sound cut through the room like a blade. All three of us froze, our eyes darting toward the front hallway. "We're not expecting anyone," Vanessa said, her voice trembling. Michael stood glancing out the window. When he turned back, his face was ashen. "There's a car in the driveway. Black sedan. Tinted windows. 2 men in suits just got out." The doorbell rang again, longer, sharper. Then came the knocking. Heavy, authoritative. "Don't answer," I said quickly, surprising even myself with the firmness of my voice. "Michael, is there a back door?" "Mom, what are you?" "Is there a back door?" I repeated louder now. He nodded. "Through the kitchen." I grabbed the box, shoved Robert's letter and the photograph into my purse. "You're going to answer that door in 30 seconds, I said. "Tell them I left an hour ago. Act confused, natural. Can you do that? Can you?" Vanessa's eyes were wide. "Brittney, who are they?" "What's happening?" "I don't know," I said, "but I'm not waiting to find out." The knocking grew harder, more insistent. "Mom," Michael said, his voice breaking. "Please don't call me. Don't text. I'll reach you when it's safe." And then I was moving through the kitchen, out the back door, into the dark October air. The night bit at my face as I ran to my car, clutching the wooden box like it was a lifeline. My heart pounded with fear and something else, anger. Robert had hidden something monumental, something dangerous enough that strangers were showing up 2 years after his death. By the time I pulled out of the neighborhood, my hands had steadied. I checked the mirror every few seconds, half expecting headlights to appear. But the roads were empty, silent. 20 minutes later, I turned into my long gravel driveway. The farmhouse rose out of the darkness like a ghost, familiar yet foreign, its windows dark except for the porch light I always left on. A habit from when Robert worked late, a beacon to guide him home. Now it guided me. Inside, I locked the door and threw the deadbolt, something I'd never done in 40 years of living there. The house felt different now. Not like a home, but like a stranger's place filled with shadows and whispers. I made coffee, poured it black, and spread the box's contents across the kitchen table under the harsh fluorescent light. The newspaper article was dated August 15, 1982. I read every word. James Whitmore III, age 26. Heir to the Whitmore textile fortune, has been missing for 3 weeks. Boston police confirm possible foul play after blood was found in his Beacon Hill apartment. Whitmore was last seen leaving the Harbor Club on July 23rd. His father, James Whitmore Jr., has offered a $100,000 reward for information. $100,000 in 1982, enough to make anyone desperate. I sifted through more photos. Robert at yacht clubs, charity galas, polo matches, always surrounded by elegant people. He looked comfortable there, like he belonged to that glittering world. Then I found the engagement announcement. The engagement of Miss Caroline Ashford Peaton to Mr. James Whitmore III is announced by her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Reginald Peaton of Greenwich, Connecticut. A June wedding is planned. The woman in the photo, Caroline, wasn't the one in the earlier picture. She was beautiful, poised, with a smile that could have graced a magazine cover. I felt dizzy, My husband had been engaged to her just before he arrived in Millbrook, pretending to be someone else. A sharp noise shattered my thoughts, gravel crunching outside, headlights sweeping across the curtains. I turned off the kitchen light and peered through a slit in the drapes. A dark SUV sat idling in the driveway, engine running. No one got out. My phone buzzed a text from Michael. "Mom, where are you?" "Those men said they're from the estate lawyer's office. They had questions about Dad's will. Are you okay?" "The estate lawyer's office at 9 p.m. My stomach nodded. I didn't reply. Instead, I shoved everything back into the box and looked around for a hiding place. Not the basement, too obvious. Not my bedroom, too personal. Then I remembered the attic, the crawl space behind the chimney where Robert used to keep old farm records. I climbed the narrow stairs, my heart hammering. Just as I reached the attic landing, I froze. A soft click echoed from downstairs, the sound of someone testing the back door. They were here. I moved faster, pulling the attic ladder up behind me and crawling toward the chimney. Dust filled my lungs as I pried loose the wooden board covering the crawl space and shoved the box inside. Then came the shattering of glass. They were in the house. I crouched low in the attic, heart pounding so loudly I could barely hear the voices below. They moved through the house, methodically opening drawers, overturning furniture, searching. The sound of boots on hardwood echoed through every beam and nail of the farmhouse. "Nothing down here," a man's voice called out, educated, clipped faintly. "Boston? Check upstairs." The floorboards groaned as someone started climbing. I pressed myself against the rafters, praying the attic stairs weren't visible. My hands were trembling, but my mind had gone cold and sharp. They reached the landing. "Bedrooms are clear," another voice said. "She must have gone outside." A pause. Then the first man again. "Check the outbuildings." Their footsteps receded. A door slammed, silence broken only by my own ragged breathing. Through a thin gap between the boards, I saw flashlight beams slicing across the yard toward the barn, the equipment shed. I had minutes, maybe less. I scrambled down from the attic, grabbed my purse, and slipped through the front door into the night. The SUV was still in the driveway, idling. Two silhouettes moved by the barn, their voices carried on the wind. My car was blocked in. Running was my only choice. I cut across the yard toward the woods behind the property, following the faint outline of the deer path that led to the Morrison farm 2 miles through the trees. The October air stung my lungs as I ran. Within 100 yards, my ankle twisted painfully, but I kept going. Branches whipped my face, caught my hair, tore at my sleeves. Behind me, the shouts started. "She's out back, fan out." Panic clawed at me, but I pushed it down. I knew these woods. Robert and I had walked them 1,000 times. I veered off the main path, ducking low through the underbrush. A flashlight beam swept across the trees to my right, close, too close. I dropped behind a fallen log and flattened myself against the damp earth. Footsteps crunched nearby. "I've got movement." Sector 3, one of them called into a radio. "Pursuing." I grabbed a handful of dirt and rocks and hurled it to my left. The man turned toward the noise. His flashlight followed. I bolted in the opposite direction. "She's running," he shouted, but his voice was fading behind me. I tore through the trees, lungs burning, ankle throbbing, adrenaline driving me forward. The first glimmer of light through the trees was Ben Morrison's security lamp. Relief nearly dropped me to my knees. Ben had been Robert's closest friend, our neighbor for 40 years, a Vietnam veteran who still kept a shotgun by the door. I burst from the woods into his backyard just as the porch light flicked on. The back door opened and Ben appeared in a threadbare robe, shotgun in hand. "Brittney, what in—" "Ben, please," I gasped, stumbling toward him. "There are men chasing me. They broke into my house." He didn't hesitate inside. He locked the door behind us, killed the lights, and peered through the blinds. "How many?" he asked. 3, maybe 4, I whispered. "They're not burglars, Ben. They're after something." "Something," Robert left me. His eyes flicked toward me, hard and knowing. "He told me this might happen," Ben said quietly. "What?" "Toward the end he came by. Said if anything ever happened to him and if trouble came looking for you, I was to keep you safe." The betrayal hit like a physical blow. You knew he was hiding something. I didn't know what, and I didn't ask. Ben said, voice calm but heavy. "A man's entitled to his secrets." But he was scared, Brittney. Scared in a way I'd never seen. told me he'd made enemies that wouldn't die easy. A flashlight beam swept across the window. "They're coming," I whispered. Ben checked the shotgun. "My truck's in the garage, keys are in it. You take it, head for town, go straight to the sheriff." "I can't leave you here. I'm an old man with a gun on my own property," he said with a grim smile. "They'll think twice before crossing me. Now go. You've got 3 minutes before I make some noise." Tears burned my eyes. "Thank you. Go." I sprinted through the dark house into the garage, climbed into Ben's ancient pickup and started the engine. Gravel sprayed as I tore down the driveway. In the mirror, flashlight beams converged on his house. Then came a shotgun blast, deafening final. I prayed it was only a warning shot. Once I reached the road, I turned off the headlights and drove by moonlight. I didn't stop until I was 10 miles away. My phone rang a number I didn't recognize. I answered breathless. Mrs. Caldwell, a woman's voice said, smooth, cold, with the confidence of money. Or should I say, Mrs. Whitmore. Every muscle in my body froze. "Who is this?" I demanded. "Someone who's been looking for your husband for 43 years, she replied evenly. "And now it seems you have something that belongs to me." I gripped the steering wheel tighter. "If you're talking about that box, I don't know what's in it." A soft chuckle. "Oh, you will. And when you do, you'll understand just how much danger you're in. Be smart, Mrs. Caldwell. Cooperate, and you might keep what's left of your family alive." The line went dead. I sat in the silence of the truck, her words echoing like a curse. She knew my name, my husband's real name, and she knew exactly what I had. I drove for miles, trying to think, trying to breathe. Every instinct told me not to go to the police. Whoever that woman was, she spoke like someone who already had connections, power, the kind of person who could turn the law into her weapon. If Robert or James or whatever name belonged to the man I'd married had trusted no one, there was probably a reason. My headlights picked up the weathered sign for the Millbrook Public Library, and I made a decision. I'd been a volunteer there for years. I knew the security code. The library was quiet at night, safe, and most importantly, empty. I parked Ben's truck behind the building and slipped in through the back door. The silence inside felt heavy, almost sacred. I switched on one desk lamp and went straight to the public computers. My fingers trembled as I typed James Whitmore III, missing Boston, 1982. Search results flooded the screen, archived news articles, family statements, even a few conspiracy blogs. I clicked through one after another, piecing together a picture of the man I'd never really known. James Whitmore III had been Boston royalty, old money private schools, Harvard education. Heir to the Whitmore textile fortune. Engaged to socialite Caroline Ashford Peeton. And then one July night, he'd vanished. Blood in his Beacon Hill apartment. A missing briefcase. No witnesses. No body. The Whitmores had offered a $100,000 reward and hired private investigators for years, but no trace ever surfaced. He was declared legally dead in 1989. I sat back, staring at the monitor, my heart thudding. My husband, the man who'd fixed tractors, danced with me in the kitchen, and taught our son to fish, had once been this man, a golden heir who'd walked away from everything. Then curiosity, or maybe fear, pushed me to search another name, Caroline Ashford Peeton. An article appeared from 5 years ago. Boston philanthropist Caroline Peeton Ashcroft donates $5 million to Children's Hospital. The photo showed a silver-haired woman with sharp eyes and a smile that didn't quite reach them. Even through the screen, she radiated control. I was still staring at her picture when the library's front door clicked open. The sound echoed like thunder. I turned off the monitor and ducked behind the circulation desk, heart hammering. Footsteps echoed across the tile floor, measured, unhurried. Mrs. Caldwell, a man's voice, called out, calm and confident. "I know you're here. The truck outside gave you away." I held my breath. "I'm not here to hurt you," he continued. "My name is Daniel Torres. I'm a private investigator working for the Whitmore family. I've been trying to find James Whitmore for 3 years." "Private investigator," the words tightened my chest. He moved closer, his footsteps soft but deliberate. "I know this must be overwhelming. I know you're scared, but you're in real danger. Those men who broke into your house tonight, they're not working for me. They're professionals, cleaners." "Cleaners," the word chilled me. Torres kept talking, his voice low, conversational, as if trying not to startle me. "Here's what I think happened," he said. "James, your husband found something in his family's business, something criminal. When he threatened to expose it, they tried to kill him. He survived and ran, changed his name, became Robert Caldwell. My breath caught. And what were they hiding? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Money laundering, Torres said. The Whitmore textiles were a front for it. He took the proof and disappeared. That's why they've been looking for him ever since. He stopped on the other side of the desk, just feet away. Through the small gap near the floor, I saw the tips of his boots. The problem is, Torres went on, someone else found out you opened that box. Someone who lost everything because of James Whitmore. She's the one who called you tonight. Caroline Piton Ashcroft. She's not interested in justice, she wants revenge. A chill ran through me. You heard the call. He crouched, and for the first time I saw his face, younger than I'd expected, eyes sharp but kind. I've been monitoring her communications for weeks. I knew she'd make contact once the box was opened. I hesitated, studying him. His expression wasn't threatening, but I'd been lied to enough for a lifetime. Why should I trust you? You shouldn't, he said simply. But if I wanted you dead, I wouldn't be here talking to you. He offered a hand. Please, come with me before she finds you again. I stared at him for a long moment, then slowly stood. My legs trembled, but I took his hand. We slipped out through the back door into the crisp night air. The sky was cloudless, the moon bright enough to cast silver shadows on the parking lot. Where are we going? I asked. Someplace safe, he said, unlocking a dark sedan. But first we need to get that box. It's hidden, I said. Not for long, he replied grimly. Her people won't stop until they find it. Whatever your husband left behind, it's more than just money or secrets. It's proof. Proof that could destroy her entire world. As we drove away, I looked out the window at the sleeping town, the neat little houses, the empty streets, and wondered how many other lives had been built on lies as big as mine. Then my phone buzzed again, a message from Michael. Mom, please call me. Vanessa's in the hospital. They hurt her. My breath caught. I showed Torres the screen. His expression darkened. Don't text back, he said. Call it. He put it on speaker. The phone rang 4 times before a familiar voice answered, calm, cold, precise. Mrs. Caldwell said, Caroline Piton Ashcroft, so nice of you to call. Your son and his wife are fine for now, but my patience is thin. Bring me the documents within 12 hours or you'll never see them again. My blood ran cold. Who are you? I demanded. There was a pause. Then her voice hardened. I'm the woman your husband betrayed. The one he left to rot while he ran off and pretended to be someone else. I'm the reason he ran. And now, Mrs. Caldwell, I'm coming to finish what should have been done 43 years ago. The line went dead. Torres and I stared at each other. She knows everything I said. His name, my family, everything. Torres nodded grimly. Then we'd better move fast, because she won't stop until she has what's in that box. We drove in silence through the sleeping town, the tires humming against the asphalt, the weight of everything pressing down on me until I could barely breathe. Torres's face was grim, focused, his eyes flicking to the mirrors every few seconds. When he finally spoke, his voice was low. Your husband was smart. He didn't just run, he built a new life so clean that no one could trace it. But someone must have tipped Caroline off. It took her 40 years, but she finally found him, or at least the name he died under. I stared out the window, and she killed him. Torres hesitated. Maybe. Maybe not directly. The heart attack could have been real, but if he knew she was close, that kind of stress could kill anyone. The thought hollowed me out. For 2 years I'd mourned a husband who died peacefully fixing fences. Now I was realizing he might have died terrified knowing his past had caught up to him. Where are we going? I asked finally. Somewhere safe. Somewhere she won't think to look. He turned onto an unlit country road leading out of town. 10 minutes later, we pulled up behind the old Millbrook Library again. I frowned. I thought we just left here. He gave a faint smile. Sometimes the safest place is the one you just ran from. Nobody circles back. We parked behind the building. Torres killed the headlights and motioned for me to stay quiet. There's something you need to understand, he said softly. Your husband didn't just expose dirty money. He uncovered something much bigger, something that still matters to people in power. What could be worth all this? He hesitated, then met my eyes. James found evidence that the Whitmore textile empire wasn't just laundering cartel money. It was being used to fund off-the-books political operations, arms shipments, blackmail payments, campaigns, slush funds. Some of those people went on to become senators, ambassadors, even judges. If that evidence ever surfaced, it would burn half of Washington. The words hit me like a blow, and Robert James, he had proof. Every bit of it. Caroline's family was at the center of it. When he found out she tried to have him killed, I leaned back, the air suddenly too thin. So the woman who called me, she's not protecting her family's reputation. She's protecting everyone tied to it. Exactly. And the only thing keeping her from killing you outright is that she doesn't know where the box is. Yet. We sat in silence. Outside, the town clock struck midnight. Torres's phone buzzed. He read the message, cursed softly. "We need to move. My contact just spotted Caroline's men heading toward your property again. They know there's something hidden there." I felt a cold rush of panic. The attic. The box, it's in the attic crawlspace. Then we go get it before they do. We were back in the car within seconds, speeding toward the farmhouse. The moon was low and pale, and every shadow looked like movement. My hands twisted in my lap as dread pooled in my chest. When we turned down the gravel drive, I saw two vehicles parked in front of my house, a black SUV and a sedan. Lights glowed in the windows. They were inside. Torres cut the headlights and parked behind a cluster of trees. 4 men, maybe 5, he murmured, peering through binoculars. They're not even trying to hide. That's good. Overconfidence makes people sloppy. How do we get in? There's always another way, he said, glancing at me. Your husband would have known that. Did he ever make modifications to the house? I thought quickly. There's an access panel on the north side of the roof. Robert put it in 15 years ago when we had squirrels in the attic. Torres nodded approvingly. Then that's our way in. We circled through the trees until we reached the north wall. The access ladder was half hidden behind overgrown climbing roses. Their thorns were thick and vicious, but they also provided cover. Torres went first, moving with silent precision. When it was my turn, he steadied the ladder as I climbed. The metal was cold and slick, and the roses tore at my sleeves, leaving thin cuts along my arms. I ignored the sting. At the top, I worked the small panel loose. It creaked but held. With a final push, it opened, and I crawled into the darkness of the attic. Torres followed, closing it behind us. The air was thick with dust and the scent of old wood. Below, faint voices drifted up, men speaking in low tones, methodically searching. I moved toward the chimney, feeling my way past stacks of boxes and old furniture. Everything was just as I'd left it, until I saw the sheet of plywood that covered the crawl space. It had been moved. My heart sank. I pulled it aside and reached into the hollow behind the chimney, fingers scraping against the wood. Empty. The box was gone. "Torres," I whispered, "it's not here." He crouched beside me, checked for himself, then swore under his breath. If they found it, they'd be gone already. Someone else must have taken it. We froze at the sound of footsteps on the attic stairs. "Check up there again," a man's voice ordered. "She lived here 40 years. There's no way she didn't hide something." The attic ladder unfolded with a metallic groan. Torres grabbed my wrist and pulled me toward the far corner, ducking behind an old armoire and a stack of furniture draped with sheets. I held my breath as flashlight beams swept through the gloom. "Nothing up here but junk," one man said. "Keep looking," another replied. "The boss wants this place torn apart." Their lights passed inches from where we hid. The wood creaked beneath their boots. I could smell their cologne, sharp, chemical, expensive. My phone suddenly vibrated in my pocket. Michael's ringtone. The sound was deafening in the silence. The flashlights whipped toward us. "Over there!" Torres lunged forward, tackling one of the men. The two crashed into a pile of boxes. I scrambled for the access panel, yanking it open. A hand clamped around my ankle. I kicked hard, connecting with something solid. The man grunted, loosened his grip. I didn't look back. I swung my legs through the opening and dropped. The fall wasn't far, maybe 10 feet, but I landed in the rose bushes, the thorns biting deep into my arms. I pushed through the pain and ran, hearing the chaos erupt above me, shouts, pounding footsteps, a gunshot splitting the night. I sprinted across the field toward the open dark. My lungs burned. Every step felt heavier than the last. Then suddenly, headlights ahead. A car idled by the old dirt road, door open, engine running. "Mrs. Caldwell," a woman's voice called softly. "Please stop, I'm not here to hurt you." I froze, blinded by the glare. A figure stepped into the light, a woman in her 30s, dressed in dark slacks and a blazer, calm amid the chaos. She held something in her hands. Robert's wooden box. "My name is Jennifer Matsumoto," she said. "I'm your husband's attorney. He left this with me 2 years ago with instructions for tonight. Behind me, the shouts grew louder, flashlights bobbed through the yard. Jennifer's expression didn't change. "If you want to live," she said quietly, "get in the car. Now." I hesitated for one heartbeat, searching her face for lies. Then I saw the box, real solid, unmistakable, and I ran for the car. I slid into the passenger seat, slamming the door just as Torres burst from the darkness behind me, shouting my name. Another gunshot cracked through the night, splintering the air. Jennifer gunned the engine and the car shot forward, gravel spraying behind us. Torres dove out of the way as we sped down the dirt road, headlights off the world reduced to streaks of silver and shadow. I twisted in my seat, heart in my throat, watching as figures shrank in the rearview mirror until they disappeared into the dark. Jennifer drove like someone who'd been trained for moments like this, steady hands, eyes sharp, never flinching, even when the tires skidded through turns. When she finally spoke, her tone was calm, almost too calm. "Your husband prepared for this," she said. "He knew Caroline would come eventually." "How did you know where to find me?" I asked, my voice shaking. "Robert left instructions," she said, glancing at me. "He told me that if the box was ever opened, and if you were in danger, I'd know when and where to intercept you. He had contingencies for everything." "Who are you?" "I'm a lawyer," she said, "but not for the Whitmores. I used to work in Boston doing estate cases. Robert found me through an old colleague. When he realized his health was failing, he gave me that box and told me to protect it. And you, if anything happened." She reached into her coat pocket and handed me a folded piece of paper. My hands trembled as I unfolded it. Robert's handwriting, unmistakable and heartbreakingly familiar, filled the page. "Brittney, if you're reading this, I was right. They've found me. Don't trust anyone from Boston. There's a woman named Jennifer who'll come for you. Go with her. She knows everything. What's in the box will clear my name and destroy theirs, but only if you get it to the right hands. I love you forever. R." The tears came quietly burning down my cheeks. I pressed the paper to my chest. "He knew," I whispered. "He knew it would end like this." Jennifer's eyes softened. "He never stopped loving you. He built everything he had left around keeping you safe." I turned toward the wooden box resting between us on the seat. "What's in it?" She hesitated. "You should see for yourself." The car slowed as she pulled onto a deserted overlook, the valley stretching out below like a sea of black glass. She turned off the engine and the silence pressed in. Under the dome light, I opened the box. Inside, neatly organized, were dozens of envelopes, each labeled and numbered in Robert's precise handwriting. Documents, photographs, even cassette tapes. Jennifer pulled one out and laid it on the dashboard. It was labeled Project Kingsway. "This," she said quietly, "is the reason he ran." I unfolded the top sheet. It was a typed memorandum marked Confidential, U.S. Treasury Liaison Office, 1981. As I read, the pieces began falling into place: offshore accounts, military-grade shipments, routed through Whitmore textiles, coded payments tied to major political donors. A signature line at the bottom bore a name I recognized from news headlines even now: Senator Arthur L. Halloway. "This can't be real," I said, shaking my head. "This was 40 years ago." "It's very real," Jennifer said, "and still relevant. Halloway's the chair of the Senate Finance Committee. If this comes out, it doesn't just destroy his career, it implicates an entire network that's been laundering influence for decades." I stared at the papers, understanding now why Robert had spent his life looking over his shoulder. Caroline was part of it. She was the link, Jennifer said. Her family financed half of the Whitmore operations. When James, your husband, found the proof, he confronted her. She tried to have him killed, but he escaped. He came here, became Robert Caldwell, and built a new life. But he never stopped fearing that one day the past would find him. I swallowed hard, my throat tight. "And now it's found me instead." Jennifer nodded. "Caroline's power is built on silence. If this box goes public, everything she's protected collapses. She'll do anything to stop it." I looked down at the box, at the life's worth of secrets my husband had carried alone. "So what now?" Jennifer started the engine again. "Now we take this to the one place even Caroline can't touch." She drove us toward the interstate, her focus unwavering. The first streaks of dawn were beginning to gray the horizon when she finally spoke again. "There's a journalist in D.C., Matthew Larkin, investigative reporter not tied to any major outlet. Robert trusted him once. If we can get this to him, he'll know what to do. I nodded, though exhaustion and grief pressed against me like a weight. And if Caroline finds us first? Jennifer's lips tightened. Then she'll wish she hadn't. For hours we drove in tense silence, the road stretching endlessly ahead. Somewhere around Richmond I drifted into uneasy sleep, Robert's voice echoing in my dreams. Trust no one, burn everything, your life may depend on it. When I woke, sunlight was streaming through the windshield, and the car had stopped at a gas station off a rural exit. Jennifer was outside talking on her phone, her expression grave. I cracked the door open, stepping into the cool morning air. That's when I saw it across the road, a black SUV idling at the curb, tinted windows glinting in the light. Jennifer ended her call abruptly, saw where I was looking, and cursed under her breath. "Get in the car," she said. But before she could start the engine, two men stepped out of the SUV. Caroline's men. They moved fast, efficient, no hesitation. Jennifer floored the accelerator, but one of them fired. The back window shattered glass, spraying across the seats. Down she shouted, yanking the wheel. The car fishtailed, tires screaming. We tore down the highway, wind howling through the broken glass. "Where are we going?" I cried. Jennifer's jaw tightened. "We're not going to them. We're bringing them to us." Before I could ask what she meant, she veered off the road onto a dirt path leading into dense forest. Branches scraped the sides of the car as she gunned it deeper, finally stopping near a crumbling concrete structure half buried in vines. "This used to be a Cold War relay bunker," she said quickly. "Robert told me about it. He said if everything ever fell apart, this was the place to finish it." "Finish what?" Jennifer met my gaze, her voice steady, exposing the truth. She grabbed the box and a laptop from the glove compartment. "Help me get inside." We pushed through the overgrowth to a rusted metal door. Inside, the air was cool and stale, but the generator still worked. Jennifer booted up the laptop and began scanning the documents, uploading files through a secured network. "The files are going to Larkin," she said, typing fast. "Once he publishes, Caroline can't touch you. The truth will be everywhere." But then a voice echoed from behind us. "I wouldn't be so sure." We spun around. Caroline Piton Ashcroft stood in the doorway, flanked by two armed men, her tailored coat immaculate, her silver hair gleaming in the dim light. Her calm smile sent a chill straight through me. "I always admired your husband's brilliance," she said smoothly. "A pity he wasted it running from ghosts. And now you, Mrs. Caldwell, you've inherited his mess." Jennifer stepped between us. "It's over, Caroline. The files are already transmitting. You can't stop it." Caroline's smile widened slightly. "You overestimate your connection, dear. I cut power to the relay 5 minutes ago." Jennifer froze. The laptop screen went black. "Now," Caroline said softly, "give me the box and maybe I'll let you both walk out of here alive." The silence stretched heavy and absolute. Jennifer's hand moved toward the box, but not to give it up. She was reaching for the pistol at her side. Caroline's eyes flicked downward. "Don't," she warned. "You won't make it in time." Her men raised their guns, and that's when the world exploded into chaos. Gunfire tore through the bunker, deafening and sharp. Jennifer grabbed my arm, yanking me down behind a steel table as bullets sparked off the concrete walls. The smell of gunpowder filled the air, mixing with dust and metal. "Stay down," she shouted over the noise. I crouched, clutching the wooden box against my chest. My heart pounded so violently I thought it might burst. Caroline's men moved methodically, their boots heavy on the concrete floor. Jennifer returned fire, hitting one. The other ducked behind a column, firing back. "Enough!" Caroline's voice cut through the chaos, cold and commanding. "You can't win this, Jennifer. You never could." Jennifer reloaded, breathing hard. "You underestimate what he started." Before Caroline could reply, headlights flared outside the bunker entrance, followed by the crunch of tires on gravel. A moment later, Torres burst through the doorway, weapon drawn. "Get down," he shouted. The remaining gunmen spun toward him, but Torres fired first. The man dropped. Caroline's expression didn't flicker. She simply stepped back, her calm composure unbroken, even as her world collapsed around her. "Too late," she said quietly. "Even if you kill me, none of this will matter. The machine keeps running." Torres advanced, his weapon steady. "Maybe, but at least we'll know who started it." Caroline's smile was almost pitying. "Do you really think the truth will survive the news cycle?" She looked at me then, directly, intently. "Mrs. Caldwell, your husband was a fool. He traded power for conscience, love for guilt. And in the end, all he did was delay the inevitable. I stood slowly, trembling but resolute. No, he gave me the time to make sure you'd never win. Jennifer met my eyes and gave a barely perceptible nod. While Caroline had been talking, she'd quietly switched the laptop to a backup power cell. On the screen behind her, the upload bar glowed a single pixel away from completion. Caroline turned just in time to see it. Her eyes widened the first crack in her composure. No, she whispered. Jennifer hit enter. The upload completed. A soft chime echoed through the bunker. It's done, Jennifer said. Caroline's face hardened. You think this changes anything, she hissed. You think they'll believe you? Torres lowered his weapon slightly. They won't have to believe us. They'll see it. Caroline's men exchanged uneasy glances, realizing their power had just evaporated. The older woman straightened her elegance, returning like armor. Then you'd better pray the world's ready for what you've unleashed. Without another word, she turned and walked out into the dawn, her heels clicking on the gravel. Her men followed silently, leaving only the fading sound of the engine as they disappeared down the road. The three of us stood there shaking, breathing the stale air heavy with smoke and adrenaline. It's really over, I asked softly. Jennifer exhaled. For them, yes. For us, not yet. Once this hits the news, there'll be fallout. People will come asking questions. Torres nodded. But your husband's name will finally be cleared. I sank onto an overturned crate, the exhaustion washing through me like a wave. The wooden box sat open beside me, its contents glowing faintly on the laptop screen. The truth Robert had carried alone for decades. For a long time, none of us spoke. Then Jennifer rested a hand on my shoulder. He did it for you, you know. He could have burned it all years ago. But he wanted you to live free of it even if he couldn't. I looked down at the letter still folded in my hand, the ink slightly smudged from tears. I love you forever. The sun was rising now, thin beams of light piercing through the trees outside the bunker. For the first time in years, I felt warmth without guilt. Torres loaded the last of the files into his car. Larkin just confirmed receipt, he said. The story's going live in 30 minutes. Every major outlet's picking it up. Whitmore, Pete, and Holloway, it's all coming down. Jennifer smiled faintly, the first real smile I'd seen from her. He'd be proud of you, Brittney. I wasn't sure about pride, but I knew this Robert hadn't died in vain. The life we'd built, the love we'd shared hadn't been a lie. It had been his redemption. We left the bunker just as the morning light spread across the valley. I turned for one last look at the place where the truth had finally found its way into the world. The air smelled clean the way it did after a storm. By the time we reached town, news alerts were already flooding phones. Headlines filled the screen. Whitmore's exposed in 40-year corruption scandal. Senator Holloway under investigation. Evidence of political laundering surfaces. The machine had started to eat itself. Michael's name flashed on my phone again. I answered this time. His voice was shaking. Mom, it's everywhere. Are you safe? I am now, I said softly. It's over. There was a long pause, and then he said, Dad would have been proud of you. I smiled through tears. No, I said gently, he'd be proud of us. That night, when I finally returned to the farmhouse, the world outside was quiet. The air smelled of rain and wildflowers. The ghosts were gone. I sat on the porch watching the sky fade into indigo and whispered into the night. You can rest now, Robert. It's done. And for the first time since his death, the silence that followed felt peaceful. If you've been moved by this story, by love that endures, by truth that refuses to die, and by the courage it takes to face the past, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories that remind us how even in the darkest lies, truth still finds a way to shine through. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done in Brittney's place?